I stumbled out of the Pine Barrens at dawn, my clothes torn and my eyes wild with fear. The camera in my trembling hands held the proof of what I'd seen, but I wasn't sure I wanted to look at it again. As I collapsed into the arms of the search party, I could still hear the whispers from the woods. They wanted me to come back, to join them in the shadows. But I had survived the night, and I was never going back. Over 500 unexplained incidents are reported in the Pine Barrens each year, ranging from eerie sounds to ghostly sightings. This vast wilderness, spanning 1.1 million acres, is a land of contrasts. Its unique ecosystem boasts sandy soil and pitch pine trees, home to diverse wildlife including deer, foxes, and the rare Pine Barrens tree frog. The forest's natural beauty is undeniable. Sunlight filters through the dense canopy, dappling the forest floor with shifting patterns. The air carries the scent of pine and damp earth, but beneath this serene surface lies a darker reputation that has persisted for centuries. As you venture deeper into the woods, the atmosphere shifts. The sandy soil muffles your footsteps, creating an unsettling silence. The dense vegetation seems to close in, distorting sounds and playing tricks on your senses. Many visitors report feeling watched, even in the most isolated areas. Early settlers faced numerous challenges in these woods. They struggled to navigate the thick forests, constantly wary of dangerous wildlife. But it wasn't just natural threats that concerned them. Many reported strange sounds echoing through the trees and inexplicable sightings that fueled the area's ghostly reputation. The forest's unique geology amplifies its eerie qualities. The combination of sandy soil and dense vegetation creates acoustic anomalies. Sounds can travel in unexpected ways, leading to reports of disembodied whispers and distant screams that seem to have no source. As night falls, the Pine Barrens transform. The darkness is absolute, broken only by the faint glow of stars filtering through the canopy. It's in these shadowy hours that the forest's most infamous legend is said to roam, a creature that has haunted local folklore for generations. Yet, not all encounters in the Pine Barrens are supernatural. The dense tree cover and complex topography disorient even experienced hikers, leading to countless rescues each year. Wildlife behaves strangely too. Deer have been observed acting unusually skittish, while birds fly in erratic patterns, adding to the forest's unsettling atmosphere. As our survivor first stepped into the Pine Barrens that fateful evening, they couldn't have known what awaited them in the gathering darkness. The forest's secrets were about to unfold in ways they never could have imagined. As twilight faded, an eerie silence descended on the forest. Have you ever wondered how your mind might play tricks on you when darkness becomes your only companion? In the depths of the Pine Barrens, our survivor was about to discover just how thin the line between reality and imagination can become. With nightfall approaching, the survivor hurried to prepare for the long hours ahead. They gathered fallen branches to construct a makeshift shelter, carefully arranging their limited supplies within easy reach. A small fire was built, its warm glow providing a fleeting sense of comfort against the encroaching darkness. As true night settled in, the first signs that something was amiss began to emerge. The natural sounds of the forest, the rustle of leaves, the calls of nocturnal animals seemed to fade away, replaced by an unsettling quiet. Then, faint whispers seemed to drift on the breeze, just beyond the edge of comprehension. The survivor's unease grew as more inexplicable occurrences unfolded. Shadows appeared to move independently of the fire's flickering light, darting between trees at the edge of vision. The air grew unnaturally cold in patches, sending shivers down their spine even as they huddled close to the flames. These experiences align with research on how darkness affects human perception and psychology. Prolonged exposure to darkness can lead to heightened anxiety and fear, as the brain struggles to interpret unfamiliar stimuli. Studies indicate that isolation in dark environments can trigger hallucinations, as the mind attempts to fill in gaps in sensory information. The survivor's heart raced as they tried to rationalize each strange event. Was that truly movement in the underbrush, or just branches swaying in the wind? Did they really hear their name whispered from the darkness? Or was it merely the sound of the fire crackling? As the night wore on, the line between reality and imagination blurred further. The survivors found themselves questioning every sound, every shadow. The forest seemed to come alive with unseen presences, watching and waiting just beyond the reach of the firelight. By the time the first hint of dawn appeared, the survivors' perception of reality had fundamentally shifted. The once familiar forest had transformed into an alien landscape, filled with potential threats both seen and unseen. As they contemplated their situation, a new urgency took hold. They needed to signal for help, and quickly. But in this strange new world the forest had become, would their attempts bring rescue, or attract something far more dreadful? The distant sound of a helicopter's rotors cut through the forest's eerie silence, igniting a spark of hope in the survivor's chest. Could this be their chance for rescue? With renewed energy, they quickly formulated a plan to signal their location. The dense canopy of the Pine Barrens presented a significant challenge. Visibility was severely limited, making it difficult for any aerial search to spot a person on the ground. The survivor knew they needed to create a signal that could penetrate the thick foliage and catch the attention of potential rescuers. Their first attempt involved building a larger fire. Gathering as much dry wood as possible, they stacked it carefully, hoping the smoke would rise above the tree line. As the flames grew, the survivor's heart sank. The smoke seemed to disperse among the branches, never reaching the open sky. Undeterred, they moved on to creating noise. Using a sturdy branch, they struck it against tree trunks in a rhythmic pattern. 3 quick strikes, followed by 3 slower ones, repeating the SOS signal. The sound echoed through the forest, but also seemed to attract unwanted attention. Strange rustling in the underbrush and an increase in those unsettling whispers forced the survivor to abandon this method. Standard wilderness rescue protocols recommend staying in one place to increase the chances of being found. The survivor tried to adhere to this, while also attempting to make their location more visible. They used stones to spell out help in a small clearing and hung brightly colored items from their backpack on nearby branches. As each attempt seemed to fail, the survivors' desperation grew. They tried flashing the screen of their now dead phone towards the sky, hoping to catch a glint of sunlight. They even resorted to climbing a tree, hoping to get a better vantage point and perhaps spot signs of civilization. But with each effort, the forest seemed to close in around them. Shadows deepened, and the air grew thick with an oppressive atmosphere. The survivor couldn't shake the feeling that their attempts at rescue were drawing the attention of something else, something that didn't want them to leave. In a final, desperate act, the survivor used the last of their water to draw large arrows on tree trunks, pointing towards their location. As they finished, a twig snapped nearby, followed by an inhuman growl. The survivor froze, realizing that their efforts may have attracted more than just potential rescuers. The evidence of a supernatural presence was growing, and they were no longer sure if being found was their most pressing concern. For centuries, the Jersey Devil has been dismissed as mere folklore. But what if the legend is rooted in something far more tangible? As our survivor was about to discover, sometimes the line between myth and reality blurs in the most terrifying ways. The survivor's heart raced as they examined the ground before them. There, in the soft mud, was a set of tracks unlike anything they'd ever seen. The prints were large and cloven, but with an unsettling, almost human-like quality. They appeared suddenly, as if their maker had materialized out of thin air, and vanished just as abruptly a few yards away. The Jersey Devil, a creature said to haunt the Pine Barrens for generations, suddenly felt less like a campfire tale and more like a very real threat. According to legend, this beast is described as a flying creature with a horse-like head, bat wings, and hooved feet. For over 300 years, locals have reported encounters with this nightmarish being. As the survivor cautiously followed the tracks, they noticed other strange phenomena. The air grew unnaturally cold in patches, and an acrid smell, like sulfur, wafted on the breeze. Shadows seemed to move independently of the trees casting them, darting just at the edge of vision. Historical accounts of Jersey Devil sightings echoed in the survivor's mind. They recalled stories of early settlers hearing blood-curdling screams in the night and witnessing a large, winged creature soaring above the treetops. Even in recent years, witnesses have reported similar experiences, strange noises and glimpses of an impossible beast. The survivors' senses were on high alert as they pushed deeper into the forest. Every snapping twig and rustling leaf amplified their fear. They found themselves analyzing each sound, trying to distinguish between natural forest noises and something more dreadful. Suddenly, a piercing shriek cut through the air, unlike anything the survivor had ever heard. It was part animal, part something else entirely. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, a phenomenon possibly explained by the Pine Barrens' unique acoustics. As dawn approached, the survivor made a chilling discovery. Caught on a low-hanging branch was a tuft of coarse, dark hair, too large to belong to any known animal in the area. Next to it, the bark was deeply scored with claw marks, far too high up to have been made by a bear or other local wildlife. The evidence was mounting, each new find pushing the survivor closer to a terrifying realization. Something was out there, something that defied logical explanation. As they stood there, clutching the strange hair and staring at the claw marks, the survivor knew their ordeal was far from over. The true test of their survival was yet to come, and it promised to challenge everything they thought they knew about reality. With trembling hands, the survivor checked their watch. 5:23 a.m. Just minutes until dawn should break over the Pine Barrens. But as they looked up, the sky remained an impenetrable black. Why wasn't the sun rising? And more importantly, what was that massive shape now blocking out the stars? The survivor's breath caught in their throat as an unnatural stillness settled over the forest. The usual pre-dawn chorus of birds was eerily absent. Even the wind seemed to have died, leaving the air heavy and oppressive. With shaking hands, they gathered their meager supplies, determined to make one final push to escape the woods that had become a nightmare. As they took their first tentative steps, a twig snapped underfoot with a crack that echoed like a gunshot in the silence. The survivor froze, eyes darting wildly, searching for any sign of movement. Nothing. But the feeling of being watched intensified, raising goosebumps along their arms. Suddenly, a low growl rumbled through the air, seeming to come from all directions at once. The survivor's heart raced, adrenaline flooding their system. They broke into a stumbling run, branches whipping at their face as they crashed through the underbrush. Behind them, something large crashed through the forest, gaining ground with terrifying speed. The survivor's mind reeled, trying to rationalize what was happening. Could it be a bear? A pack of coyotes? But deep down, they knew this was something else entirely, something that shouldn't exist. As they burst into a small clearing, the survivor risked a glance over their shoulder. What they saw defied explanation. A massive winged shape loomed in the darkness, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as human and monster locked gazes. Then, with a deafening screech, the creature lunged forward. The survivor ducked, feeling the rush of air as claws narrowly missed their head. They scrambled forward, fueled by pure terror, no longer caring about direction. only escape. Just as their strength was about to give out, the trees began to thin. The first rays of true dawn pierced the canopy, and with a final burst of speed, the survivor broke free of the forest's grasp. They collapsed on the ground, gasping for air, as the sounds of pursuit abruptly ceased at the tree line. As search party members rushed to their aid, the survivor cast one last glance at the Pine Barrens. For a moment, they thought they saw a dark shape melt back into the shadows. But as the sun rose higher, banishing the last of the night, they were left to wonder, had it all been real, or a nightmare born of fear and exhaustion in the unforgiving wilderness? As dawn broke over the Pine Barrens, our survivor emerged forever changed. The night's events left more questions than answers. What truly lurked in those shadowy woods? Was it the legendary Jersey Devil, or something our minds simply couldn't comprehend? The line between natural and supernatural blurred in those dark hours. Every snapping twig and rustling leaf took on new meaning. The forest itself seemed alive, watching and waiting. In the harsh light of day, rational explanations surfaced. Yet the lingering fear and vivid memories weren't so easily dismissed. Perhaps the true horror lies not in what we saw, but in what remains unknown. The Pine Barrens guard their secrets well, leaving us to grapple with the shadows that exist both in the forest and in our own minds. As the first rays of sunlight broke over the Pine Barrens, our survivor's ordeal was far from over. What truly lurks in those shadowy woods? Was it the legendary Jersey Devil, or something even darker? Something that exists only at the edge of our understanding? The haunting whispers, the unexplainable shadows, that bone-chilling growl, they still echo in their mind. Maybe the true terror isn't in what we saw, but in what we can't comprehend. What do you think? Is there something dreadful hiding in those woods? Or is it all just fear twisting our perception? Let us know in the comments below. And if this story left you questioning what's real and what's not, hit that subscribe button for more terrifying stories that'll send shivers down your spine. Until next time, stay safe, and whatever you do, don't venture into the haunted woods alone.